his mantra was, "We will perfect adhesives," and nowhere within that statement does it say we will do packaging consulting.
It's too much for me. I feel
You're
like
not an influencer yet. We gotta get you on
well,
this influencer list.
I don't think that we're going to need this space on any package ever.
You really like math and science, but you also like to be creative, so packaging is actually a perfect fit. Man, really digging deep, but yeah, usually at the end of our engagement, they're adding 1 to 2 to multiple people to their team.
They realize the value.
Also, packaging becomes pretty important, right? The last couple of years, there's been more companies looking for talent than there have been students.
Hello and welcome to Packaging Speaks, where we talk with packaging professionals about their career development and their perspective on the industry. Today, I'm joined by Rob Kaszubowski, who's a degreed packaging professional from UW-Stout with more than 20 years of experience in the industry. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We just talked recently a couple of weeks ago, and I thought we had an interesting conversation. You've got some good things going on in your current role, and it sounded like it might be fun to share with the world. So I'd love for you to start by giving us a little bit of background and what your current role is and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll get things rolling. So my current role, I'm the managing director of packaging optimization within NTT Data. And what that means is it's kind of a fancy way for saying I lead a team of packaging engineers and packaging consultants. So we provide that engineering support and service to other companies. And really we bring an agnostic and end-to-end view to packaging, both at the component level and then across the entire supply chain. And so a lot of our work is primarily focused, especially these days, on cost savings and damage reduction, as well as supporting new product launches and sustainability initiatives. And we've been around for over 20 years. We work with a wide mix of clients, big and small, and wide ranges across the industries. I like to tell people, we've worked on everything from shredded cheese to grills, and from cupcakes to commercial exercise equipment, and everything within those ranges.
Do you have people in your organization that specialize in different industries, or how does all that work?
A little bit of both. So over the years, as our team grows, we've got a lot of folks that are, we'd call them athletes. They can, or utility infielders. Maybe that's a better analogy.
Sure.
We can plug them in just about anywhere, and they've got enough experience in certain realms to tackle a lot of different initiatives across food, CPG, or industrial type projects. And then over years, we've added some more specialized talent. So if you think of food or bottles, caps, closures, distribution dynamics, LTL. So we've got a couple different lanes where we've got some specialty expertise.
Is this where you saw your career headed when you were going to college?
Not specifically, no. And I think
How did you get into packaging to begin with, I guess?
Yeah, good question. More by luck. I think it's a similar story to a lot of other people, but one of my best friends was going to UW-Stout just for a meet and greet day, and offered to take me with them, and I was all for taking a day off of high school. So we both did the tour, and initially I started off in a different engineering focused realm. I think we were both, at the time, me and my buddy, we were industrial technology majors. And so I started off there for about a year and a half. And yeah, I just wasn't loving the classes and the coursework. So I ended up taking an aptitude test through the university and didn't even really know packaging was a major. And through this test, they're like, hey, based on your results, you really like math and science, but you also like to be creative. So packaging is actually a perfect fit. So took an initial packaging 101 class and loved it, and the rest is history.
Do you know off the top of your head when the UW-Stout program started? When they started a packaging program there? Was it?
I want to say, yeah, we'll have to fact check me. I want to say back in the 1970s, and it wasn't always a standalone major. It was either an emphasis or a minor. and then
Right.
later on, I mean, probably in the 90s, packaging became a standalone major.
Okay. Because I do feel like I get that story a lot where people were going to school and they didn't even know packaging was a major, and then as they were going through their other engineering courses, they discovered the packaging program, and I think that's changing now. People are definitely putting packaging more in the front of all of their processes, and it's more in the front of mind. And I just wonder. I, actually, you're plugged into EW Stout, aren't you? How has the recruiting for colleges developed in the industry over the years?
Yeah, so I currently sit on the Stout Packaging Advisory Council. So that group is about 25 packaging professionals, mostly UW Stout alumni. So we meet twice a year to review current curriculum, as well as we've got some specialty subcommittees looking at different things within the packaging program, everything from scholarships to student involvement, and then enrollment as well. And so I sit on the enrollment subcommittee. And it's still a lot of very similar stories. A lot of even current students, how they get into packaging. They knew somebody, their neighbor, their dad's brother's cousin,
Sure.
all those different butterfly effects or connection points to say, hey, if you like this and this, maybe this is for you. And so we continue to build on that and really try to get the word out there and build awareness, kind of up and down, all the way down to the high school level. And it's interesting. I think a lot of that process starts so much earlier than you would think, or, even when I was thinking about going to college, like it starts, seventh, eighth, ninth grade.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. In fact, one of the things I do outside of packaging is, I serve on the Sheboygan County Board as supervisors, and one of our main roles is to foster relationships. We've got some people that serve on the board of the local technical school, and nursing homes and things like that. And the way they are trying to build pipelines of employees starting already, it's freshmen, sophomores in high school. What are your interests? Where would you like to go? We could get you involved in this course, and you can do some work here on site with us as you get ready to graduate high school. I mean, targeting and recruitment is getting younger and younger and younger. And I don't know if that's a reflection of just the recruitment practices getting more advanced, or the population birth rates going down, and we're just all desperate for people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think everything starts earlier. I mean, even little kids t-ball programs, everything always starts way earlier than I expected. And then just the accessibility to, I mean, the internet and Instagram and YouTube videos, and I mean, it's at your fingertips at a pretty young age. So kind of following that trend as well. How do we get more information and more, I guess, that peek behind the curtain to show off some of the excitement and some of the complexities around packaging. And so anything, science, math, engineering focused is a good adjacent tangent to packaging and the packaging field.
Well, I think peek behind the curtain is a great segue. Maybe you could give us a little bit of some insights into your career. You graduated. Let's see. You graduated from Stout back in like 2003. Is that right?
Yeah, 2003.
Okay. And you came up. Did you have? How many internships did you have?
I had two. So my first one was with IBM out of Rochester.
Okay.
So that's really where I got my feet wet and learned a lot about structural packaging, design, protective packaging, distribution testing, distribution dynamics. And yeah, so we were fortunate enough at the time IBM had their own packaging lab, packaging development centers. We had all the tools at our fingertips and could do a lot of the work there in-house.
So it was not just a go get me coffee kind of internship. You had access to equipment and projects and things to do.
Yeah, exactly. So everything from, empty server racks, mounted server racks, supported some of we still had desktops, so they had desktop units. So a lot of, foam corrugated cushioning, hybrid solutions,
Sure.
some crate work as well. Man, really digging deep into the memory. But yeah, we touched a lot of things. It was a really good experience.
Awesome. I guess I asked because how many internships you had because I have found that as the degree becomes more popular, as more and more people are entering the industry, it does seem like um, perhaps if you're one of those students who's going to school and you come out without an internship or a low to mid quality one, you may have a hard time finding work as you're coming out of school. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's been a moving target. I think most qualified candidates I deal with now have at least two internships, and they're both good ones.
Yeah, and from what we've seen from the last couple of years, it's pretty competitive market, even for looking for interns and co-ops. From a supply and demand perspective,
Right.
like I said, the last couple of years, there's been more companies looking for talent than there have been students. So again, like a really good opportunity to, I mean, to get into packaging as well as to have a couple of different co-op experiences before you put that first stake in the ground to say, yeah, this is my path and this is where I want to start off.
Yeah, a lot of my major clients, the big ones, the crafts, the crafts not a client of ours anymore, but they have really invested a lot of time and effort into growing their own, not just recruitment teams in HR, but sending their packaging teams out to the schools to meet students and participate in their career fairs and things like that. So I feel like a lot of the students are getting vacuumed up by the Kenvues, the crafts, the General Mills of the world. Whereas there are a lot of companies out there that maybe would like to bring in an intern, but they're not as big or they're not as well known, and they do have a hard time attracting talent. So there's definitely space for more if you're looking to get into the industry. Now's the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, good internships. You spent some time at Menasha Packaging, HB Fuller. Talk to me, I guess, about are there experiences in your career that you felt like, or decisions you made in your career that you felt like really set you up for the success that you've got today? How did you end up where you are?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, right out of college, I started working with Menasha Packaging here in the Twin Cities. So a lot of corrugated design, a lot of display work. So that was fun to see the manufacturing process and to learn and
Sure.
understand how things are made, right? If you ever watch some of those videos, how it's made, like I always enjoy, even in my current role, like getting out to the production floor and seeing how it goes from a drawing to actual production and some of the challenges that come with that as well. But um, so I learned a lot in that space. And then at some point I said, I don't know if I want to be doing this for forever.
Right.
Uh, so I had through some networking connections, got connected with basically the same group I'm at today. So back in 2007, and I figured at that time, if I got into this consulting gig, I'd get a lot of exposure to a lot of different materials and companies and processes, and I'd be set and I could go anywhere. And it's kind of true, but I haven't left. So I've been here for 17, 18 years now. So back at that time, our group was still packaging consulting, but we were a subsidiary of HB Fuller, and HB Fuller is a multi-billion-dollar adhesive company based out of St. Paul. And around 2011, they had a new CEO come in, and his mantra was, "We will perfect adhesives." And nowhere within that statement does it say we will do packaging consulting. So,
Right.
the writing was kind of on the wall, and through other events and projects and networking, we had bumped into the folks at Chainalytics. So we were acquired by Chainalytics back in 2011, and so that group is still there. So our group is package engineering focused. We're part of a broader supply chain consulting organization, which was Chainalytics. So they provide other boutique supply chain consulting services from warehouse operations, transportation and logistics, demand planning, supply chain network design. And then Chainalytics, our entire team, we were all acquired by NTT, now 3 years ago.
Okay. Talk to me about the packaging playbook. What's that?
Yeah, packaging playbook. That's a newsletter I started on LinkedIn probably in December, January of this year. So it's a weekly newsletter or article that we post or case study, and it's really just geared towards all things packaging. It's such a wide industry, and there's so many interesting topics, and we touch a lot of those different areas. So it's a way for us to kind of share some of those insights and hopefully add a couple of nuggets of information that other companies or other packaging professionals can use and tuck in their back pocket for executing a project at some point.
One of the common themes I think I've been running into in talked to a lot of consultants recently. Frankly, the right now I feel like with the stops and starts in the greater economic world, some of our clients are looking to maybe instead of bring on permanent full-time employees, they're feeling a little safer about bringing on a contractor right now. But one of the things I've heard from a lot of consultants is there's not enough collaboration happening out, cross company. This organization is working on sustainable solutions. This organization is working on some kind of solution. This organization, and there's not enough communication happening across the industry to help actually develop sustainable solutions. There's not enough targeted spending, if you will. Do you have the same perspective on that? What are your thoughts on where the industry's headed, and how do we get to the circular economy that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's some of that even within, some of the larger organizations. There's probably some pockets of siloed communication between corporate and then plant level or regional level where, that could all be improved, right? So everybody's on the same page and everybody's connected and singing off the same sheet music. Yeah, from an industry perspective, I mean, I loved last summer Google came out with their plastic-free playbook. Like they kind of open sourced it, right? We did all this work. Here's what we found. You can have it.
Yeah.
Everybody, we want everybody to use it. So I think that's a pretty awesome step forward. And so if there was more of that, and there's pluses and minuses to that too, right? As far as being competitive, but we kind of need the volume for it all to work. And so to get the volume, you need a good critical mass of people to be on board with advancing some of these technologies and some of these materials. And so, in the short term, maybe that is the right path of, how do we open source? How do we partner, from a sourcing standpoint, how we bundle some of the volumes or some of the R&D work for that matter.
You go to you spend a lot of time at trade shows. Where do you do your networking?
Networking all over. Yeah, it's been an interesting mix probably since COVID, but we always go to Pack Expo. We send a large team there. A lot for the networking, not necessarily for the walking through all the aisles and booths. I mean, there's still a lot to learn and a lot to see, but after a while, you've seen a lot of similar things. We're pretty regular attendees and speakers at the ISTA Transpac conference. Mm-hmm. So we've been, I think 5 or 6 years in a row, we've been presenting some project work or some case study. In addition to that, I mean, we've gone to SPC, and then the SpecRite Spec Summit. We're regular attendees there as well. So there's value in all of them. Again, I think it's just pulling out those nuggets of information. It might, not every presenter, every show is gonna be mind blowing, but between some of those insights and then just the sheer networking and talking freely, just like we're doing here, to say, hey, what are you seeing? Here's, have you experienced this? How do you overcome it? Like those are pretty powerful from a, networking relationship standpoint.
Yeah. What you mentioned SpecRite, which I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of activity right now, obviously, around specs and tracking your packaging and who owns the data and EPR reporting and all of the changes happening legislatively. Um, are you finding yourself with a lot of work in spec management these days? Is there a lot of do you have a relationship with SpecRite, for example? You helping people convert from one system to another, or anything like that?
We yes to both. So we are a SpecRite implementation partner. So we've got a couple folks on our team who are packaging engineers, but pretty savvy in the technical space as well. So they've over years we've gone through some training courses, and we can build out the architecture on the back end from a packaging engineer's perspective to make sure that it's useful and impactful, and not just a bunch of data in a system that you can't access or you don't know how to access. And then, yeah, beyond that, I would agree there's a lot of push for access and visibility to the data. And I think that's one of the exciting things for packaging engineers is once you have all that data, all the packaging specs and weights and dims at your fingertips, then you can start to drive some of the change,
Right.
both just from a visibility standpoint. I think there's a lot of times that some of that might get missed or dusted under the rug, but once it's visible, then you can start to, formulate a plan, and even build out the business case for change. That's usually a starting point of, wow, we have this many SKUs, or this many pounds of material, or this much spend in a certain category, and you can slice it and dice it whichever way you want, but you kind of need the data to do that, and not just somebody's rough estimates. So if
And
it's
how many prospective clients come to you with really no data, no that you're starting from scratch, basically?
Yeah, I wouldn't say no data. That's definitely gotten better. I mean, I remember years ago, that's usually one of our upfront project requests is we need some basic information, right? And
Right.
I mean, this is 15 years ago. Somebody gave me their list of their top 10 SKUs on a post-it note. Like, okay, so we'll start with that. But yeah, I think it's just fragmented in different systems,
Sure.
and the packaging teams might not always have access to that. So again, even to understand, if you're launching a new product, how do we, commonize or use something that's already existing? Is that the right approach, or do we need something completely new
Does
to
it ever,
commercialize?
I guess, different way, does it ever start with a client coming to you saying, we know we need to change things, but we don't have a good grasp on what we're doing right now. Can you help us fix our data before we start making decisions? Or do they come to you where they've already got some kind of project in mind and they're into it already, and they're like, oh, well, maybe we don't really have all the data we need to implement this. We gotta back up a couple steps. At what point
Yeah,
do you get involved typically?
yeah, all the above. Yeah, there's definitely some where there's gaps or there's holes in packaging data. Traditionally, it's a lot of the weights and dims, and then that transfers into downstream shipping costs if it's through small parcel or full truckload, and then the systems that feed some of that. So like on the transportation side, if your data is missing there, you're maybe overpaying for what you're actually shipping just because the weights and dims are off. And so all of a sudden there's all these breadcrumbs of also packaging becomes pretty important, right? To have the
Yeah.
right information and the visibility, and then make sure that gets from maybe one system to the next system in a succinct fashion. That's kind of where the value is, and so we've supported some of those projects as well.
Sure. Once the data's all fixed and where it belongs, then what? Do you typically, what's your typical relationship with clients? Does somebody stay on and help them continue to manage their data, or is that like, okay, you're fixed now, you're on your own, back to your world? Do you have longer term relationships? What's the ideal contract like?
Ideal contract. So we do everything from upfront assessment work and some root cause analysis on a damage reduction project, to specialized projects, so everything 8 to 16 weeks, and then we do some longer term engagements, either in a fractional or a full-time managed service.
Sure.
So everything ranges. I mean, a lot of our project work is probably around 4 months on average, but also a lot of our work comes from repeat customers and referrals. So we like to think that we do good work, and then customers continue to come back to us, and it's just kind of that evolving cycle. We realize we're based on our model, not every company needs a full-time packaging engineer, or maybe the horsepower that we bring and we add to the table. But I mean, I think one of the satisfying things in the last couple of years, we've heard this multiple times, that our customers have said, wow, you've really helped the organization realize the value of having packaging engineers on the team and having this robust process. So we work with customers that have no packaging engineers to already established teams, and so we kind of bolt on and help them execute and accelerate the work. And yeah, usually at the end of our engagement, they're adding 1 to 2 to multiple people to their team.
They realize the value.
Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of paved the way and established some processes or added on to their current process to help them execute. And then they realize the value, and they realize they should add on and maybe internalize that.
Yeah. What are your favorite things to work on?
My favorite things. I'm to the point in my career that I forgot more than I remember already, but I enjoy getting out to the field and, like I said, seeing how things work and operate, and even obviously a lot of the high-speed automation is always interesting, but every company has slightly different processes. So to get again that peek behind the curtain to see how everybody operates, and it's always different. That's what I kind of enjoy, is the variety and the complexity and the problem solving aspect of it. There's no two projects that are 100% the same, and I think that's why I've been in my role for so long.
Yeah, that's another reason someday that a lot of folks I hear go into the consulting world is they like the variety. I've been doing the same thing for so long. Maybe I can share my expertise with a couple different organizations. That people like to take that control back. I feel like. So you've been consulting for, you say, almost 20 years?
Almost 20, yeah.
Almost 20. What's changed in that time about how you're picking up clients, about how busy the industry is? Is there a lot more competition? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think twofold. There's more consultants out there, which is good and bad, but there's still a lot of demand. Like, there's a lot of companies that have projects and have needs, and again, bringing back that awareness of packaging. It's not just put it in a box or put it in a bag or strap it to a pallet. There's a little bit more complexity to that, and then just unraveling all the options within primary, secondary packaging, tertiary packaging. How do we find the right combination at the right cost for us to move it from A to B, get it to the consumers? And now, unboxing videos, we don't want to be on Instagram with somebody with a bad experience. It's really interesting. And I think too, in the in the food CPG space, they'll do special launches for influencers, right? You can get an influencer pack. So like that's even a carve out for some of the packaging teams. They're focused on what's the next influencer pack. So how do we make this really cool experience and really cool packaging to pave the way for a new product launch?
It's too much for me. I feel like
you're not an influencer yet. We gotta get you on this influencer list.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna need this face on any package ever. No, it really, it's gone. so many levels. You know, you drill in so deep. The idea that now we're changing packaging based on what people's behaviors on the internet, and it's like it's very reactive. It feels very reactive, but a lot of times it's also you find that there's companies out there that are doing this market research and maybe they're leading some of these trends. And it's a crazy time to be in the industry.
Yeah, it's always evolving. I mean, I think back when I was in college and doing like master, final senior papers, things like that. It was always what are the trends, and a lot of those are still pretty similar, right? Like people want convenience, people want on the go options and snacking, and now I think that'll transition a little bit just based on different consumer preferences and health. I've got teenagers now who are becoming young athletes, and so now they know they're reading the ingredient labels, they want to get their protein, and so that will all factor into, okay, what does the next packaging system look like?
Are you a user of the Yucca app? Are you familiar with that?
No, tell me about this.
Yucca is Yukack. I'm not sure, but it's you scan the barcode of a product, a food product, and it'll tell you how many known carcinogens are in it, what kind of preservatives are in there, and it gives you a score on 0 to 100 score. And my wife has set a policy in our house now that if it scores below 50, we don't buy it in our house anymore.
Oh wow.
So I was just this morning. I was riding in the car listening to talk radio, and the HHS is changing regulation on food dyes and things you're allowed to put in the packaging or into your products. And I don't remember how I got onto the Yucca thing, but you can get a lot of information through scanning barcodes, and there's barcode changes coming too, right? Did I read that? We're going to a 3D barcodes system or 2D barcode?
Right. The traditional 2D barcode will be sunset in, I think, 2027, which will come pretty quick.
Yeah. The world moves fast these days.
Yeah.
Talk to me. What were your anecdotes you wanted to get in?
I had a couple of call it war stories from the consulting world that I try to share with my team, and they're kind of just good general anecdotes and general lessons.
Sure.
But one this was years ago. We had been working with a retailer on a damage reduction initiative, and part of our process is to get out to the field and understand we call it supply chain mapping. So we go to all the sites and we understand all the different touch points and what's the process flow and manual, mechanical, where can damage occur, and we lay all that out. And so we just wrapped that up, and we had a big leadership steerco review planned with this retailer at their corporate office. And so the whole team flew in to present, and we got to the hotel the night before, and I was still younger, but the lead project manager, he looked at my presentation and he's like, yeah, this is not going to work. And so he was already the night before. Yeah. So he was seasoned enough. He knew the perspective of the people in that room and what they would want to see and kind of the flow. And we stayed up until 2 a.m. and we reworked the entire thing. And man, it was painful. Right over PowerPoint slides. But when we left that meeting, I mean, we had really good feedback, really good discussions, and we had a lot of high fives on the way out. So now we bump up that within our process as far as how to get more prepared and how do we get more reviews. So we're not staying up till 2 a.m. in the hotel lobby restructuring PowerPoints and reports, whatever it might be, like what's that final deliverable. So that's kind of my takeaway is kind of think twofold, think big picture and understand your audience and anticipate their needs, and get the feedback of others who might have more experience to get you to a better endpoint.
Right. your data was just not compelling, or it wasn't on point?
I
How
think
did he
it
help
was
you?
more, yeah, there were some editorial changes, that were maybe a little bit more excessive than needed. But for the most part, it was the flow of the story. And so
Okay.
how do we step through and, people that were in that meeting, they had not been to distribution centers and, even understanding the acronyms of, right. So there's ticky tacky details like that if you weren't there, you're not going to get it. So we have to kind of build up and spoon
Yeah.
feed that story to get to where, okay, we're building up. Now here's the climax or the crescendo, and here's the insights.
Awesome. And it worked out great.
It worked out great. Yeah. And I learned a lot. So it sticks with me.
Awesome. So what's next? What's next for you, Rob? If if I were to call or say your role disappeared from under you tomorrow, I mean, I know that's not going to happen. You're doing a great job. You're in a stable organization, all that. But if you were given the freedom to say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this, what would it be?
Is it not in packaging?
Uh,
Well, okay. No.
Sure.
So if it's not in packaging, I always joked with my wife that I want to start a Christmas tree farm, just because I grew up on a dairy farm, so I've got that in my blood, like that farming and the
Okay.
work ethic and all that. And yeah, it just seems like it'd be kind of a low key, chill adventure
Yes.
or business adventure, and everybody loves Christmas, so it'd be
Right.
kind of fun to see that where everybody's always happy and picking out their Christmas tree.
Okay, if you could solve any problem in the packaging world, what would it be?
I mean, I think we hit on it a little bit. Is the broader collaboration
Okay.
across all the different groups, and so I mean, collectively, you and I, we both talk to a lot of people, and so we don't, in my perspective, we don't always land projects with all these companies, but we have a lot of discussions around current pain points and challenges, and so yeah, to have the broader packaging leaders of the industry all together, not 40,000 people at Pack Expo, but to have all those leaders together and sit at some kind of round table and talk through and share ideas, I think that would be pretty cool.
Okay. A lot of clients I talk to, a lot of candidates I talk to, they're one of the biggest motivating things for packaging engineers right now. Reasons they want to make changes in their careers is folks want to work from home, and companies are pulling employees back into the office, and a lot of folks are looking at maybe going the consultant route, starting their own business as a way to get out of the office or at least move the office into their house. Um, with the way competition has started to pick up in the industry, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about making that leap?
Into consulting,
Yeah.
yeah, it goes on both sides of the coin, right? So on the competitor side of things, we're good. We don't need any more consultants. No,
Right.
but I think as I've shared, it's a pretty diverse industry, and so there's a lot of different realms within packaging and adjacent to packaging that, yeah, we still need. I think some of those specialty expertise players, and that's going to continue to evolve and cycle. So I think I mentioned I lead the IOPP's Consultants Council as well,
Yes.
and so we're building that back up over probably the last year or so. So people were at that stage in their career where they want to get into consulting, or maybe they're in between and they want to do consulting as a bridge. So we're continuing to build out that roster, and it's again everything from generalists to specialists in different avenues of packaging, food, CPG, medical, equipment.
Is the council's main mission to try to connect consultants with work, or is it to help people get their businesses started? What are the benefits of being in the council?
Primarily to connect uh, consultants with people who are looking for support. So different brands and manufacturers who might need help. Everything again from just we have a question advisory to full scale projects that they might need some supplemental support or some talent added to the mix.
Have you made? Has there been a point in your career where you have made a mistake that has maybe cost your employer time and or money, but been a great learning experience for you?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I try to share those with my team as much as possible, and hopefully that they learn. So myself and Rich Lindgren on our team, we've both been together working for over 20 years. And so we like to say that, we've skinned our knees enough in past project work that we want to share those experiences so that our team doesn't hit those same roadblocks and pitfalls along the way. Yeah, it's always things you should have caught, right? Like, I feel like throughout life, you always look back when you're 30, you look back when you were 20, and you're like, what was I doing? And now I'm in my 40s, and I look back when I was 30, and I'm like, what was I doing? I should have caught this. But so a lot of it comes back to just sound planning and processes. But some of those failures are early on. In my career, I was doing a lot of big and bulky protective packaging, so a lot of full pallet distribution testing, and some of those systems are a little bit more complex. There's a lot more parts and components to go into it, and yeah, they're everything from some aesthetic damage. Again, you look back and you're like, I should have caught this, and everything to like more catastrophic failures where you just missed something or didn't fully think through the process and the requirements of the testing. And so same thing, we try to instill that back into our process of, okay, let's take a step back, because sometimes you get so focused on like, you're in like task mode. I need to do this task and I'm done with this task and I can check it off, but you need to take a step back and look at it from that big picture perspective, right? Take a peek above the horizon and say, okay, so what am I missing here? And again, even to bring a fresh set of eyes in to, kind of walk through your plan or walk through the design or the packaging system, and where is this going to blow up, and what do I need to be thinking about?
Just have somebody else to say, did you consider this? Did you consider that?
Exactly, yeah. And hopefully you check all those boxes, but yeah, sometimes there'll be again some fresh perspective or somebody who's like, oh well, I worked on something similar, in a different industry, different product, but we had this and this happen. So you need to anticipate, some of those failures before they pop up.
Okay. What advice would you give somebody who's entering the industry today, who's going to school right now?
I would say, so I used to present back at UW Stout to a lot of the student groups years ago, and so my leaving message would always be, get to know your fellow classmates and get connected and start working on that networking. I know the term usually makes people cringe, networking, yeah. But it's so true, and
it's real.
It's real, and if you get started young enough, I mean, I see this now as I've attended some of these events over time, like all of a sudden you see familiar faces and you've got a crew, and your crew of 3 people turns into 5 people, turns into 8 people, and so now you've kind of got this buddy system for these different events, people that you can hang with and just have a good time. And yeah. And I mean, half the time we don't even talk about packaging when I'm at these things, right? Like we're just having a good time, and we're talking about each other's lives and families and different adventures and things like that. So all of a sudden you've got like a diverse group of friends who happen to be packaging engineers.
It was, I've been in the industry quite a while. I've been recruiting at Packstaff since 2005, so next month will actually be my 20th year, the beginning of my 21st year here. And I've been going to Chicago Pack Expo, pretty much the whole time. And yes, it's been, every time I go, I know more people and all that stuff. This last trip, though, was the first time. I was like, hey, what are you doing later? Do you want to grab a beer? Let's have a dinner. And it's just from networking with people, and you just never really know what those connections are going to bring. Yeah, you're right. Networking has kind of become maybe a cringe word for some people, but packaging is a small community, and knowing people is incredibly important. The survey, Pack Staff we just did our first industry-wide survey not long ago, and the number one place people go to when they have technical problems is their suppliers. But the second most popular place for people to go is their own network.
Right.
Usually your boss is some kind of leader, may not even be a packaging person, may not have the technical answer you're looking for. Your network is where you're going to go to solve a lot of your problems as your career advances. So, meet good people and hang on to them, I think is the lesson there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How many people do you still have classmates you talk with?
So I graduated in December, so my graduating group was still pretty small,
Very small.
but yeah, plus or minus a year or two at Stout. I know some people both directions. So, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of commonalities, and you know this person, I know this person, and so that's always fun. Those small world connections that all of a sudden we all know each other in one shape or fashion.
Yeah, yeah. It's a small community, and you don't want to always be networking. You don't want to burn any bridges, and because you never know when you're going to run across that person again later. It's definitely a small space, and even Pack Expo can feel huge, but you run into the same people 3-4 times in one show. So good stuff. Anything that you feel like you've got that you would like to share with the industry, with up-and-comers, with other consultants? Anything you'd like to say to a prospective client? What should companies be doing before they come to a packaging person like you, right? How can they prepare themselves to get the most out of working with a consultant?
To get the most, I think a lot of it comes with it's some of the data, but also having some strategic vision and building out the business case for different ways that packaging is impacting the business and how it can add value. And there's a number of different ways. We talked about some of them. Obviously, there's cost savings initiatives, but there's other ways that impacts the entire end-to-end view and that value chain. And so it's a little bit different. The metrics vary for a lot of our companies, but if you take that step back and say, okay, so it's kind of like a chess game, right? What are the levers, and if we make this move, and it's a packaging move, now this unlocks different things, either at the operational plant level, or warehousing, or shipping, or transportation. So sometimes you need to get creative, and you need some of that strategic person to get there, but there's usually, most companies have some level of opportunity sitting out there.
Rob, I appreciate you spending some time with me today, and I hope that I hope that the people who are listening have found a way to get some value out of this, and I look forward to continuing our relationship and speaking with you again. Okay.
You bet. This is great. Thanks, Christian.
Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to Packaging Speaks this week. We will be back with another packaging expert in a week or two from now.